in meditation, when you practice, we get to a place, the body settles, and the mind even settles. And you get to a place where you just seem to be right on a brink, an edge. There's just yet the experience is different for different people, of course, but as he said, just one more sheath, there's something just there. If you could just hold that and break through, then everything would open up. It'll happen. Here's the tragic dilemma of what happens to most of us. We're meditating. First, the mind is wandering. We bring it to a state of stillness. That stillness holds itself. Maybe we're meditating on a mantra or the breath, whatever it may be. But we get to that exquisite state of stillness. And then we get to a state of expansion. You start to lose that sense of outer versus inner, self versus other. But we all have our own version of that just beginning doorway into the exquisiteness. And then the mind goes, I'm almost there. Wow. So neat. And then what happens? Right? It's over. Then you start again. The presence of the thinking mind kicking in is actually what pulls you out of that experience. Because the thinking mind, in order to operate, needs something that is not it. So here's how the mind works. It holds the object it is thinking about at an arm's length. That's just how the mind functions. So maybe I'm doing a math problem. Maybe I'm balancing my checkbook. Maybe I'm looking at blueprints for a building we're going to construct. Maybe I'm looking at a project. I'm doing any one of innumerable things that I have to think about. I'm making a shopping list. I'm planning what to cook for dinner. Maybe I'm just judging the world that I walk through. Oh, this one's fat, whatever it may be. But the mind operates only in separation. It requires there to be something outside of it that it thinks about. That shift that you're talking about in meditation is the shift from concentration to meditation, actually. It's actually the shift where you go. If you walk through the 8 limbs of yoga, but the 7 before samadhi, the first 7, it takes us slowly, go through our yamas and niyamas, how we live in the world. We use our body in asana. We use our breath in pranayama. And then it gets more subtle. And we withdraw the senses. We then take those withdrawn senses and we focus them on one point. That's the single-pointed concentration. Whether I'm using a mantra, whether I'm using a candle flame, whether I'm using one word, whether I'm using my breath, whatever it is, but I've taken my attention and I've put it on one thing. We call that meditation. But actually, if we were going to get really semantically picky about it, it isn't actually yet meditation. It's still single-pointed concentration. There is me, and there is the object upon which I am focused. A mantra, a word, my breath, an image. That moment you are talking about is the moment when we actually hit real dhyan. When that which I'm meditating upon, the meditator, actually become one. That's the real experience of meditation. And then, as that explodes into the bliss of oneness and ultimate union, it becomes samadhi. But here's where it gets tricky. The mind can do concentration. I can restrain my mind through practice, through willpower, on a single point. But in order for me to actually get into the meditation, to really touch meditation, for that curtain to open, that sheet to part, that I can't be in the mind. Because as long as there is something to think about, there isn't oneness. And so the minute the mind kicks in, it pulls me out of the experience I was having. And this is the dilemma. And this is where all you need to do, and you notice it. It's not that suddenly that thought comes out of nowhere, because you are in that state of acute awareness, heightened awareness. You know it's coming. You start to feel that little bubble of, I'm about to analyze where I am. I'm about to start to name this thing. It's starting to get so exciting that I just have to figure out what to call it. I just have to start to wonder if this is it. I have to be sure to remember it so that I can post about it later or tell somebody about it. Right? You actually are able to feel that bubble if you're really aware. So as you see that bubble, just draw the mind away from it. Bring it back. Whatever your technique of meditation that has brought you to that point, bring it back to that. Back to the breath, back to the mantra, whatever it may be. But don't let the mind get hooked in that bubble that's beginning of, oh, I wonder what this is. Oh, yeah, now it's happening. Oh, yeah. Just don't let the mind get hooked in that. And it's very subtle, and it's very gentle, and it's very soft. And so it just takes practice.